But the big thing is document type maintenance, which in the beginning, I know I talked about it during implementations, but past that, now that we have so many features, and one specifically is actually a common thing we're doing now is on the email click in your documents, we can auto attach documents like common actually, Rechem is doing is when you click on the email button, it actually opens the email and attaches the sale, but it also copies a copy of the MSDS or any other documents relating to the products on that order, maybe drawings, things like that. So we can auto attach things, but the big thing is to have the document type set up so we know what we're pulling. So coming into document types under tools, document type maintenance. And when you come in here, you have a list of all of the document types and where they're associated. This is a big one. But to add one, you hit add at the top, come down here. So the document type itself has to be all one word, no spaces, things like that. The actual description can be whatever you want it to be. So, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Is that mistakes in there? Yes, we put that in the default, I think, actually. Terms. Okay, we'll do terms. Yeah. So actually, that's a good one. If you have customers and you have specific terms and conditions for each customer, you would be able to associate terms and conditions. And then the description could be whatever you want it to be. It could have spaces, etc., all you want. The big thing about the description is actually when you go to attach the document in the system, you can edit the description at that time, which I think you're doing now. You're putting the file name because it doesn't save it. But basically, you're able to put your own little notes here, etc. So this is just the default description that populates. And then you have the options. You want multiple files, and the entity and stored in folder, the easiest thing that I remember is they just pretty much need to match. So where are you going to save, or where do you want this document type to show up? So where do I want it? In this case, I want it to be under customers. So if that's the case, I want to store it in my customer folder. So it's like customers. You can limit your file extensions. It can only be a PDF, Excel, or not. You can leave it blank. And then you have these options. Do you want the user to be able to edit it if it's Excel, etc.? Do you want the user to be able to delete it? So maybe it's a one-time only deal. That's it. You don't want them to be able to remove it once it's there. And upload to server. And you just click update. And now we have my terms here. So if I went to a customer, I would be able to add a document and associate the terms with it. This seems kind of, for some people, are kind of like, why do I do this? But when it comes to maintaining your documents, looking for things, and getting into the special, if we can attach things for you or send things for you, the types become a little important just so we know what we're grabbing. So that's document types. The other thing I wanted to I wanted to show you guys is just a couple little things in accounting, and then a quick review of user permissions here. Okay, so under tools in accounting administration, you have this first setting here. Okay. You have accounting interface settings, which some of you guys actually probably know this, but basically we are giving you guys access now to turn on and turn off your own QuickBooks integration. You used to have to contact us. Reasons you would want to turn off your integration, maybe for some reason you have an invoice or a cost already in QuickBooks for whatever reason, and now you need to post it in VISCO. You don't want to duplicate, so you need to turn off the integration, post it in VISCO so it doesn't go over. Some people, For most people, they don't, to be honest with you. But when you come in here, if you do this, if you come in here, oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have a demo database onto the new 4.0 that we can get into and play around before we.
Yep. I'll set you up with access to that.
You want to play with all this fun stuff
I
before
want
you?
to play with stuff before I bring it through.
Makes sense. Absolutely. The big thing here, if you turn it off or turn it on, you need to sign out and sign back in VISCO. Your integration is session-based, so when you sign in, if the integration was active when you signed in, it stays active until you sign back out. So if you come in here and turn this off, and then you go to post an invoice, it's still going to go to QuickBooks or Great Plains, etc. It's still going to go. You have to sign out and sign back in, refresh your session so that it knows that it's now still connected. So same thing whether it's active or inactive. For you guys, the easy thing is you find your integration. In this case, there's 4 of them, but you typically will just probably have one, and you'll see the active one and finally, and you would just click active to inactive. The other thing, which I have to say, if you guys are the administrators with user permission, I would really limit this to like nobody. Because you really don't want someone in here doing stuff they shouldn't be. If you click edit here, you can see here the 2 things I want to show you. If for some reason you guys changed your accounts payable, your AR/AP accounts, your COGS and income account, if you for some reason change them, you can come in here and change them. But typically, that's something we do in the beginning. You guys really don't touch very much. But I just wanted to show you guys do have access now. Kind of see your integration, how it's set up, things like that. The other thing under accounting administration, which this is something honestly support-wise, I think the first day of every year, I think maybe we get 10, maybe 15 emails. I don't know. It happens to everybody. The accounting allowed dates. This is, for any of the accounting people here, this limits the users a certain transaction date. You can only create invoices, put things in transit, receive containers, rail cars, boats, etc. within a certain date range. So if you do your month-end close, your year-end close, etc., and you don't want someone to be, you did your close for April, and you don't want anyone doing any more invoices in April, then you would come in here and edit the allowed dates to be May 1st and beyond. For most people, if they are not using this, in this capacity, for the most part, it's open for a year, from January 1st, 2013 to December 30th, or 31st, etc. 2013. So on the first day, January 1st, 2014, or whatever first working day it is in 2014, you go to put something in transit, you go to create an invoice, etc. You will get an error saying that this date is outside your accounting allowed dates. It's actually kind of nice. It's a little safety catch because come 2014, if you make this January 1st, it avoids the infamous mistake I make it myself, typing 2013 when I should be typing 2014. But basically, when you're getting that error, this is the place you need to come in and update.
Is it supposed to affect for entering a cost with the vendor?
It's costs, invoices, anything that has to do with money and value. So container in transit, container receipt, invoices, costs.
Transit.
In transit. Container receipt,
That's pretty much it.
invoice, costs.
But specifically in the case of costs, it's the one date that looks at is the transaction date. The
Not the
actual,
transaction date,
Yeah. Not the,
not the date. You could still
the
enter.
invoice date, so, okay.
yeah.
I got in trouble. Fine.
So this is, I mean, for most people, and like I said, I'm joking, we get a lot of emails on the first day of the year because everybody gets this error, and for a lot of people, they don't use this in the administrative way, so they forget that it exists. So it's extremely common, and we laugh about it the first day of every year, that how many people contact us. So So those are the allowed dates, and just the only other thing I just kind of wanted to show you guys is user maintenance, and I just kind of wanted to go over a couple little things with permissions. There are a couple little things, that came through on support. Honestly, you learn something new every day. I learned something myself. So when you come in here into the user permissions, you have this field for default trader. And if you cover over your little eyes, it always tells you something. And this is actually really important because I see it happen a lot, is people are setting up users for their staff. They see the field for default trader. Well, let's set a default trader. The problem with that is that once you set that default trader, that user is now restricted to only see customers, sales orders, etc. that are associated with that default trader. They are locked out of seeing everything else. So, I get the phone call, I can only see these 3 customers, or, and we have 50, why aren't they seeing? Well, somebody went in and set a default trader on their user ID, which limited them to what they see. For some people, that's great, that's what they want. Some people have competition within their own companies and they don't want others to see their things. But for the most part, most people will probably be leaving that blank. The other thing this does is, not only does it limit you, but when you create a sales order, it auto defaults to this trader that's listed here. So if you're trying to use someone else and you go in and say you chose a customer and it doesn't have a default trader, it'll pop in with whatever you input there for that one. So that was another one. Custom landing pages. This is kind of cool. And it actually ties into customer portals, vendor access, things like that. We have a couple customers that actually allow their vendors to access their system, and they only want them to run a certain custom report. So when they sign in, instead of bringing them to the home page, we jump them immediately to the custom reports page so that they can run their reports. So this is a custom landing page. It basically says that I don't want this user to stop at the home page. They always create containers, take me to that page when they sign in, things like that. This is something that the drop-down is empty by default, but if you tell me the pages you want to have available to jump to, we can throw them in there so that you guys can do that and save a couple button clicks maybe. Templates. You have the ability to create templates, and I'll go out and show you where you can, but basically it makes life easier if you have a lot of users that have pretty much the same permissions. Save yourself time in the button checks, button clicks. You can select and create templates for each type of user. So it makes life easier if you have a user leave and then you bring someone else on and you're like, I want them to have the same permissions as Sally did. Well, if you had a template, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You could just select the sales template or operations or whatever it is. Other than that, the user permissions are pretty straightforward. There was a question, I think it was Jose, had a valid question that when you're in containers, you have the ability to delete ventures. And you do not have that option unless you have all of the permissions to the container and venture section. Basically, it was one of the safety features we built into there is pretty much you can't delete a venture unless you have the permissions to technically do so. So that's the only other little thing that I wanted to kind of talk about. Other than that, everybody has access. The other piece of this is your custom report. Some of you with installs or integrations and have been with us for a little while, we have the ability now to lock down your custom reports. So if you only want your users to see these 3 reports because you want the rest of them, etc., we can have your custom reports be user specific now and allow and lock down access per report. I think a lot of you actually probably have that already. So.